business management at some level of the course. You're probably familiar with Porter's 5 Forces. Michael Porter, professor over at Harvard, kind of launched this whole concept of understanding business and how industries compete with one another and how the forces external, and that's what we deal with here, is demographic, economic, etc., can be affecting it, and what do they try to do. And the key is, he says, basically, in any industry, and I'm just going to give you a simple industry, the auto industry, okay? You have your auto industry, your airline industry, etc. You've got major rivals over here, and what they're always doing is taking a look at how they can beat out someone else, and his phrase was, they come up with something called a competitive advantage, a reason people buy them over someone else. And for most companies, that's been kind of the holy grail until about 5-10 years ago, when everyone realized if you work hard enough at it, whatever your competitive advantage is, I can do that too. I just need a little more time to get there. And so a good example would be Michael Dell, who starts off a company, if you remember, in his university room, and he comes up with a model that says, I'll do you a computer. It's just like an HP computer. It's just like an IBM computer, but it's going to be cheaper for a simple reason. You pay me by credit card, which means I get paid before I even start buying the equipment. I then put it together, I ship it out really quickly, and you're really happy with a really good piece of equipment. But guess what? What is the cost of money have? Not like our businesses, where we can wait 60, 90, or 120 days to get paid, which was HP and Compaq and every other company, okay? The difference is, as they grow, they move from the individual businesses into the enterprise businesses, which are corporations, which say, we love to work with you on servers and stuff, but you gotta give us terms. And so the whole business changes. And that's the point. Things change over time, and that's why inertia is so important, is for us to recognize what we've been doing up till now doesn't work. So as Louis and I had this conversation before, in the aging industry, it's been my looking at this thing over and over again and realizing everything, and I teach psychology of aging here for CUNY, is that everything that I have in a textbook or in the magazines, or even the current writers for most cases, is old. None of it's relevant to the next generation that's going in. It's all about how we were brainwashed to think about what we're going to be doing, and not what our kids have to think about. Okay? And I've got some young kids, and I keep telling them, you guys are going to live to 100, and don't buy any of the bullshit that you have to retire at 65. You do whatever you want in life, as long as you want to. So the concept was, how do you help these companies do it? So you get airlines, for example, and you have all the hub and spoke companies, you know, the American Airlines, Delta, Continental, you know what I'm talking about. All of them are fighting it over, so they've all figured out how to make more profit by making more people sit in a smaller place in an airplane and give them only air and maybe a peanut, and that's about it. We got Ryanair, who says, I know how we can make more money, not only charge for every single bag, but if you want to go to the bathroom, we're going to have a token system. They actually have a patent on that. They're not doing it, but they've actually, just to prove the point, explored it. Ryanair. They also looked at an idea of having people stand in the back and on short flights, strap themselves standing up, so we don't even need the chair. Okay? So what you do is you have people who are entering industries that haven't looked anywhere and thought about what they're trying to do, etc. And so within that, this question comes up, well, how do I survive? Okay? And so that's the concept, and Inset and everyone else was taking the question from the company point of view. The father of management theory is a guy named Peter Drucker. You've probably all heard of this. Okay? Peter Drucker, D-R-U-C-K-E-R. He died about 2 years ago. Super wise person. Many, many wisdoms you can get. Go Google them and you'll get like 1,000 of them. But the one that I focus on when I start teaching this in my class is, he says the purpose of a business, and whether it's a nonprofit or profit, the purpose of a business is to create, and I'm going to add a word to mine, profitable, but is to add a profitable customer. That's why we're in business. And the problem is when you talk to all these people in this business, they forget about the customer. And the shift to Blue Ocean is to use Drucker's approach and say, what customers are we not talking about? Who are we not looking at? What annoyances of the customers that are out there buying from somebody else right now really piss them off enough that they might want to change and do something different? So if I really get tired of standing in the street when I need a taxi because it's raining, and what I want to do is have to stand there and get wet because I don't have my umbrella, and wait for the guy to come, and then when he finally comes, it's a dirty cab, and I have no idea what it's going to cost when I get in there, and he doesn't speak English. Gee, I wish there was a better solution. Oh, we'll figure that one out. So it's not about digital disruption, that's the company perspective, it's the customer perspective. And that's why Uber and Lyft make good business, and that's my whole point. So, what is the blue ocean strategy that changes? You start with the issue of the customer. Now, their philosophy is you're really making the competitors irrelevant, okay? Because you're not competing with them. So, in a real sense, Uber doesn't really have to compete every day with a yellow cab. People who like standing on the street corner doing it, it's easy, they're going to do that. People who are saying we want to do it different, it's there. How do we know that? We know everything. Because if we look at our experience, we see black car services, all those town car services. How did they come about? What happened was late at night, people working for the advertising agencies, the investment banks, the law firms, right? They said, we give you a service to get home because we're afraid of what's going to happen, okay? So they did that. So if you go down the agency on Park Avenue, there's like a whole fleet of cars standing there. We see that every night, okay? That was what started the black car service, okay? But I have to call them. We should want to make it even easier. What does the customer really want to do? They just want to sit there, click, 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 and 5 minutes later it's waiting. It changes. So what happens in many ways is we make the competition irrelevant by offering a solution to a need or a want that hasn't been identified, and that's what suddenly gets you going. So in that, you're focusing on this big question: who's underserved? Who's unserved in a market? So yours is a perfect example. You have a list of all your clients. In the traditional world of Red Oceans, what we do is we say, how do you get more of those people who are using it? In the blue ocean, we say, who haven't you gone in? So for example, if you were doing consumer businesses who are moving furniture, artwork might be something special and different, but Art Park is part of it. But there's a whole industry that just focuses on artwork. I actually know one who was a Vistage member of mine, so we told them about it. I learned a lot about it. Is that a whole industry that you can make? Very much so, because people won't pay. They're not going to skimp on, I'm going to save $1 on a $200 million painting, right? So it changes it. So the key is to recognize you have to do the homework. This is why, again, that inertia thing is a problem, because many people don't want to have to do the homework. Okay? But the people in these groups, and my Vistage groups, and Presentation Network, they're leading, and they're the people who do that. You then figure out what it is they're really looking for, you identify their want, you come up with a model, and then you have to execute the model. It's as simple as that. Here's examples of some of the companies. Most of you will recognize a few of them. I'm actually going to take one of them and just use them as a case in point, because it's the one that interested me at one point very much, and it's right here in Manhattan. And you can all go visit it and see what I'm talking about when I get finished. But who doesn't, does everyone know what Cirque du Soleil is? Okay, so it's not a kid's circus, okay? The question was, who buys tickets? Kids don't buy tickets, adults buy tickets. Why do the parents come? To give the kids something. But would they like something too? And if they go, what would they be looking for? And would they be willing to pay more? And could it vary? And do we not have to worry about elephants? All of those kinds of things change. And this is an example of just some of the places in which this plays out. So to put a simple way of understanding red versus blue, the way we've been raised versus the way we can shift to, is we're not competing for the same thing. So American Airlines isn't trying to steal the Delta customer by saying we're going to drop it by $5 on today's website because we can move it in 2 seconds flat and do that. But by the way, we've added a $25 fee for your your backpack and something like that. But we saved you 5 plus 20, just why they make $2 billion just on packages that everybody carries. Okay? So they're going after something that's unique and different in terms of a market very often. The goal isn't to outperform with a competitive advantage. The goal is to find a group of people who don't have anything and then build a competitive advantage. There's a teacher at Columbia whose argument is there is no such thing anymore as a sustainable competitive advantage, because over time everybody can build and get into that. And she's got a really good position. However, I think she's wrong. There are very few companies who have figured out how to do that. Apple is one, believe it or not, TD Bank is one. So it shows you some things where the key, and we actually call that a commanding strategy, is the whole concept is what you do is you find out what your competition thinks is their strength, and you turn it into a weakness. So if I have a company like TD Bank, I offer fewer services, but I can offer longer hours because I'm paying less money. I also sell less products, so I can pay people less dollars. So at the end of the day, I keep my payroll lower, and guess what? I get all those people who want to go on Friday at 6 o'clock to a bank, that they can't go anywhere else. It's the concept. So it is still possible, and again, that's the blue ocean. They went after the small business that they thought nobody was going for, and that's how they figured it out, actually. The second part is classic strategy is you either go for cost, okay? So Southwest Airlines was about cost originally, or you go around differentiation, okay? You're offering a Tesla, which is a high-end energy saving car, right? The electric car. Whereas Blue Ocean says you can do both. So think about it, when we think of Southwest Airlines, we don't just think that they're one of the cheapest ones, they're also one of the most profitable ones. But what do we also think about? It's fun. You've seen that. If you haven't, go to Google and take a look at all of go to YouTube rather and see some of the great ads and stories about it. When they stand there, you know, in the beginning when they give you that boring thing, make sure you take care of yourself when you put your bag, you know, what you're going to do if there's an emergency. They have people coming in with ukuleles and wearing, you know, hula hoops and doing all kinds of stuff to make it fun if you're going to listen to that kind of stuff and do it. And so what you're looking for is to grab new people who haven't been using the service on a regular basis, who are looking at fun, who are looking to be able to have something they haven't had before, and that's the critical part. So how do you do it? And that's again what I'm trying to do today, to stimulate you to think about it, to do it. The first thing you need to do is you have to understand customers. And what do customers look for? What we all do is we know what our customer looks for, and if I say to people, tell me what your customers want, I get 2 to 3 answers. But there are more, and what we're not looking at is the other ones. And we don't realize that ultimately we all do the same thing. We make decisions based on a weighted system of all the variables. So you need to take a look at it. So am I looking to be productive, or I want to be easy? I'm going to make a trade-off in what I'm trying to do, okay? Is convenience very important? So think about it. The holy grail today is not just e-commerce buying, but the last mile delivery, okay? Which is why Amazon's now thinking of building its own air flight system. Why should it have to give it to somebody to go from New York to Memphis to come back to New York when it can take its own plane or car service and be able to pull it out? It's looking at, does that make any sense? Can we lower the risks involved? Clearly, there's less chance of a problem in transportation. Can we turn it somewhat into fun? Fun's becoming a part because it's, remember, we all learned this 25 years ago, it's about high touch, okay, as well as high tech. And so we need to kind of combine them, etc. Social responsibility, social investing, you probably get people who only want to do it. It's a big issue right now. I just heard with the National Rifle Association, there's a number of companies that have been investing in rifle, like what Smith & Wesson, etc., and they don't want to have that anymore, and how do they get out of it? The funds are looking at it. So all of this stuff affects what customers are looking for, which I'm telling you creates an opportunity, and that's really what we want to do. The second part is try to figure it out from a transactional point of view. Where do people interact with a company or a product or a service? Are they buying it? Are they worrying about the delivery? Is it how they use it that's important? So if I give you a phenomenal app, but it's really hard to download, that may not be a great app at the end of the day because people aren't going to use it because it's too hard to do. So it's all of this. That's why one of the greatest innovation areas in the last 20 years is design thinking. How people feel comfortable using what they do. Debbie is an expert in that. So you ever have a question, you ask her. She knows design thinking cold. Supplements, what else do you add into it? Again, the packaging, the creations we're having. The concept of recycling is a disposal thing. We take care of everything we do, but we don't dissect. And so the real thing is, it's very often called the customer journey. Go through the customer journey. Be your own customer. So we talked about senior centers. So I'll give you an example. My mom was in one for many years, and they had 60 people in that center. And I talked to the person in charge. She told me all about how wonderful it is, and this was the program and everything. Then I asked my mom, tell me about it. She goes, I come in at 11:30, 11:45 to make sure I get my ticket so I can get my meal. Best part of the place is you get a really good lunch for $2. $2! Okay? Some places it's free. In her case, it was $2. Whatever. I said, tell me about the people. Oh, there's a lot of people for lunch. Maybe 50, 60 people. I said, great. And what do they do before? No, nobody comes in until 11:30. And how late do they stay? 12:30, we're all out. So they're going around telling the whole, right? They're telling everybody about how we have all these people, we do all of these services, and guess what? We have a computer class. I said, tell me about the computer class. Every Wednesday, the guy comes to 1 at 9 o'clock. Well, he misses 3 out of 4, but he's supposed to be there every week. okay? And what does he do? He comes in with one computer for 60 people. I don't know how you do that. I couldn't teach that. And that's my point. It's looking at all of what the reality of a customer journey is and then taking it and traveling with it. And so if you map them, just to give you an idea, you'll see companies like Facebook and P&G and Salesforce and Amazon, they've all kind of gone through this process and asked the question, where should I go? Where should I specialize in? Because it's not just one thing, it's many things, and you put it all together. So the ultimate point, which is what I love, and it's what I do with my business members all the time, is focus on this issue, value innovation. How do we give more for less? Because the answer is if you think it out, you can often do it. Because we take things that we don't need and we charge for it. People don't really need that. Once we strip it out, we can get rid of it. And so that's really the question. How do you do it? This is what we do, again, in the executive sessions. The process is by going around and asking a million questions. What do neighboring companies do? You mentioned they were an adjacency. What are the companies around what I do? How would they do it differently, okay? So by looking at that, when people in the yellow cabs and they thought the only thing that can invade my territory is a black car service, it just shows you how much they're losing. On the other hand, just to show you the adjacency works every direction. I worked with a black car service once, and he made a simple observation. When we all schedule travel, we go to the websites and we have our hotels listed when we buy our plane. He says, how the hell do I get from the plane to the hotel? Okay? Nobody was advertising black car services, so he went around doing it. And in doing it, he discovered something. The problem is companies don't want to work in every city with every car. So he started building a chain, creating a linkage area to do it. Okay? Realizing if I'm going to do a lot of business travel and move from time to time, I'll eventually, just like I do, you know, the Marriott loyalty program or the Hilton or something like that, start with, I'm going to do the same thing around the car service. I'll have the same thing. Guess what? Uber solved that problem by doing exactly the same thing. That's the point. What are other people doing it? What are other companies doing? What other people are doing it? What is the industry person you really want to sell to? You know, we live in probably the most fascinating time in some ways. So this is the Colleen conversation that we've had. So this person sells to apparel to a market that's generally the older population, 45 and above, okay? And she's selling to this market because it's a really great market, her product market, okay? So we sat down, I said, let's take a look at your boomer generation, which is basically 55 and older, and that's kind of the core market in there, and there's 80 million people, 78 million people. And she's selling to women mostly, so cut that in half, 39 million. So I said, but where are they going? Well, they're going to weddings. And who's getting married? Millennials. Millennials, that's 80 million, that's 40 million. Who's selling to them? We haven't really focused on that yet. So if you're somebody in the PE industry, by the way, this is where it's being positioned, is why not go for a company can understand how to go to both? I got now 40, okay? I got 39, so I'm close to 80 million people that I could suddenly be selling to if I do this play right. Just by taking a look at what's freedom in the world. So you want to take a look at it, and then focus on people. People buy not for logic, but for emotion. As lawyers, we know this, okay? Nobody makes a decision purely based on the law. You rationalize the law against the logic of how you feel about it. Judge Frank in 1935, actually in the decision, said, if I don't like the defendant, I'm going to throw the book at him no matter what. He did without saying that no matter what. But it was very clear, that was his point. I don't like him, I don't trust him, you don't get there. You ever watch Judge Judy? You can see she does exactly that kind of philosophy, okay? And you look at what's changing. What are the trends that are changing? So, what you need to do is start off by asking the question, what is being offered now? And how do I turn non-customers, people who don't use my business, into potential customers? So in your population, I'm going to make a simple number, you've got 100,000 customers, God willing, okay? Let's take a look, there's only, I'm making up a number, 27 million customers in the same area as you're doing. So we make out 26,900,000, they get in touch here. That's what you have to look at in a blue ocean, okay? You have to recognize people reject things all the time. I would never use you no matter what kind of concept, right? You know, you're a private firm, you're a law firm with only 1,700 partners. I want a little guy or a big guy, whatever it is. So who's who's rejecting you for a reason that doesn't make any sense, and you can change their mind by offering something that's new and different. And the final, who haven't we even put on our radar? So in this case I gave you before, they were looking at older women. I said, now let's look at the younger women in there, because